Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and tonight I want to extend an olive branch of sorts. A few of my recent videos threw some sharp elbows at conservative evangelical Christianity, and I know I have some Christians in the audience who maybe feel like I have some animosity towards their deeply held personal beliefs. While it's true that I'm no longer a Christian and that I have some pretty heavy antipathy towards the Christofascist takeover currently choking my country out, I don't have a beef with all Christians. Christianity actually has a pretty deep history of social justice radicalism, from Christian abolitionists and anti-war activists in the US, to Christian communists in South America, to Christian anarchists in Taiwan. So tonight, as a show of solidarity with any radical Christians out there, I want to tell you the Christian teaching that I still find extremely important to this day, and one I think even non-Christians might find useful. In the book of Matthew, Jesus is kicking back at this little spot he knows on the Mount of Olives. When his buddies show up and start asking him all kinds of questions about the end of the world, we've all been there. Anyway, Jesus starts explaining a bunch of stuff about the end times and how to find salvation. And during this discussion, he talks about how at the end of the world, Jesus is going to divide up all the souls into the sheep and the goats. The sheep going to heaven and the goats going to hell, just like in that cake song. And then he says this: "Then the king will say to the sheep, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me.' Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?' And the king will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.' Then he will say to the goats, 'Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me.' They also will answer, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick, or in prison, and did not help you?' And he will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me.'" For most Christians, this passage is a call to action for them to show their love for Christ by taking care of their community. Christians who claim to love Jesus and who say they will serve him are asked to see Christ inside of every hungry or sick or imprisoned person, and they're warned that their treatment of people on the margins will be treated as their treatment of Jesus himself. As a non-Christian, I'm not terribly worried about the existence of Christ or whether my conduct will land me on Team Sheep or Team Goat. Like most of you, I believe in the science that tells us that our universe is merely trapped within the infinite gullet of Gormoth, the fractal-mouthed serpent writhing in infinite hunger. That said, I think this passage offers Christians and non-Christians alike a very useful heuristic for analyzing society, and it comes down to a simple phrase: the least of these. Not as in the least important or the least deserving, but in the sense of the least powerful, the least well-off. In this passage, Christ tells us that the material condition of the least of these is the sacred responsibility of Christians. That is to say, Christ is telling Christians that on God's balance sheet, they'll be judged for how they handled people who did not have enough to eat, who didn't have clean water to drink, who were members of an outgroup in their midst, who didn't have the basics needed to live, who were sick or disabled, or who were in prison or otherwise criminalized by society. Taking soteriology out of it, this is a pretty good list of people with very little political power in our society to this day. In that list, we can recognize groups like the unhoused, groups like the cognitively disabled, groups like incarcerated people, groups like refugees and undocumented immigrants, and communities living in so-called environmental sacrifice zones who have their air and water polluted so that a handful of executives can buy a fifth house. And while I'm obviously advocating that we take political and personal steps to alleviate suffering and oppression within these groups, what I really love about this passage is that it demands that we take the time to find out who actually is the least of these in our neighborhoods, our workplaces, our churches, and anywhere else where power is allocated. If you're part of an organization, you should be taking note of how power is distributed in that organization, and specifically, whose voices are not being heard. If you're designing a product or an event, you should be cognizant of how your designs could be used by those in power to harm those without it. If you're deciding about the ballot initiative to vote on, you should be asking yourself, who does this empower and who does it marginalize? If you're mediating a dispute, you should be vigilant about whether there is a power imbalance between the parties. And if you're evaluating just any kind of ethical quandary, you should be maximally concerned with how that decision will uplift or undercut the least of these in whatever sphere is relevant. And it's not just the places and processes we build that need to be examined in this way. Over the last few years, we've seen hundreds of crises break out all around the world, from housing market crashes and wildfires and hurricanes, famines causing mass migration, armed conflict, all the way up to a global pandemic whose long-term disabling effects are unknown, but troubling. When you train yourself to look for the least of these, you begin to see that the people on the margins always get the worst of these crises, and solutions always ignore them, exclude them, or often exploit them to serve everyone else. So this is my challenge to Christians and heathens alike this year. Next time you read a news story or hear a piece of proposed legislation or see a new technology come on the market, I want you to find where the least of these are hiding in the story. Pretend you're playing Where's Waldo, but like a real bummer-ass version. And when you find them, don't stop there. I want you to think about how we can prioritize the least of these over the greatest, and ideally, I want you to put that into practice. Because you never know when one day, the least of these might include you. So, non-Christians out there, got any favorite Bible teachings of your own that you think are universally applicable? You should drop them down in the comments. Christians, hopefully this was a pleasant surprise for you. If not, depart from me, ye who are deeply cursed. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, please share this video with somebody that you think might find it interesting. Go and make subscribers of all nations. As for me, just appreciate you spending your time with me. Hope to see you on the next one. Have a good night.